Hello everybody, welcome to All Sports Weekly episode 5. I am Trevor and with me this week I have Scott. How you doing?
I'd like to say it's a proud day.
Really?
But, Eddie Maguire's put a bit of a scratch on that phrase this week.
Yeah.
So I'll stick with happy to be here.
We're going to talk about Eddie. He seems to be the only one who knows when he should be fired, which is pretty good going if you can have a job like that.
I'd say so.
Yeah, I'm a big fan if you can't tell. Okay, so first of all, episode 5, obviously we're on YouTube. We're also on SoundCloud if you'd rather just listen or not watch the show. You can send me a message on allsportsweekly@outlook.com if you want to ask any questions, leave any comments, that kind of thing. We're also on Twitter @allsportsweekly. So, please like and subscribe to the video, the channel, share the link, all that stuff. Scotty, what have you watched this last week or so, mate?
A bit of Big Bash finals.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been well discussed that the season's gone on a bit.
It has.
It's about as long as a supermarket queue for dunny paper during lockdown.
Really?
It's
Bazinga.
but
you're on fire.
It's good to finally get to the finals.
Yeah.
And unfortunately last night wasn't for Heat fans. It wasn't what we're after.
The Scorchers just lit it up, didn't they? And the two best teams are in the final. I also watched it. I was out last night, but I had that one sort of in the background and saw a bit of it, followed a bit of the highlights. And that's mainly what I've watched, a little bit of NFL stuff because there's a big game coming up on Monday. Okay, so I think, first of all, we'll talk about the NFL and we'll just chat about this Super Bowl. So Monday, Australian time, we've got the Buccaneers and the Chiefs Super Bowl 55. Scotty, how do the two teams match up, do you reckon?
I think they're a good matchup. I think you've got the high-octane offense of the Kansas City Chiefs now coming up against the Tampa Bay defense that's taken out in successive playoff games Drew Brees and the Saints and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, both on their home grounds.
Would you agree this is their biggest challenge though? Because Drew Brees didn't play so well. Green Bay, a little bit of a monkey on their back with their playoff record. But the Kansas offense, when it's going, it just lights it up, doesn't it?
They've just got so many options, and Andy Reid is just so clever with the way that he'll scheme up different plays that you haven't seen before. So I think that's going to be...
A few surprise ones.
Yeah, and not only would they have had them designed all year, they'll be doing a few during the fortnight before the Super Bowl, so
yeah,
they'll be ready.
Because I feel like Brady will give Kansas D some trouble, but I also feel like, can the Tampa defense go with that Patrick Mahomes led? If Tyreek Hill and Kelsey start getting receptions, look out.
And my little bit of a concern is the safeties for Tampa Bay. Jordan Whitehead injured his left shoulder in the NFC Championship game against the Packers.
Yep.
And I'd read that it was a potential labral injury or a cartilage injury. Whether he gets up, there's no firm decision yet whether he will play. I don't know that if he plays, he may needle up, but that sort of an injury, he may not have full power or movement, and maybe one big hit early, and that if he does play, he could be out. And their other safety, Antoine Winfield Jr., is a rookie. He's had a great season. He missed the championship game with an ankle injury. He should be back, but if he's not got his mate beside him, and also if maybe early in the second half, the Chiefs throw something at him and he's got to push off that foot and the power's not there, Hill could be gone. So
and players are coming in with a season's worth. They're all a bit banged up, aren't they? And that's to be expected. The week off for both teams will sort of probably help that a bit, but there's some injuries, isn't there, coming in?
And I think just the weapons that they've got to throw at that secondary is going to be a concern.
So 55th Super Bowl, the first time a home team has ever been in there. In a game like this, do you subscribe to home ground advantage? There is going to be apparently 25,000 people allowed in there so there will be a crowd, but it won't be a home crowd necessarily. Not sure about how that. Do you think that matters at all?
Look, a small amount. They will have the home dressing room. That's already been predetermined that they're the home team. Honestly, maybe 3 points, but I don't think they're not allowed to fire the cannons when they have a big play or when they score a touchdown.
Really?
They will at the start.
That's the best bit about Tampa. That's the bit. Fire the cannons.
They will at the start. They will at the end of the game if the Buccaneers win. But I think it'll be it'll feel a little bit different than just a pure home game. So a little edge, but I don't think it'll be massive.
It's the first Super Bowl to ever have a home team. It's also the first ever Super Bowl where last year's winning quarterback is playing and the year before's winning quarterback is playing.
Yeah.
So these two quarterbacks have won it in the last two. Brady with the Patriots at the time. So we've got, Brady's got a Super Bowl under his belt only 2 years ago. Mahomes the champ. It's going to be a cracker.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, do Tampa Bay need to run the ball a little bit here, do you think? Because Brady's, if Brady's got a credible running back option, running game, he becomes, in my view, a lot more dangerous. Can they run the ball against Kansas?
I think they can. In answer to the question, do they need to run the ball to win? In a short answer, yes. But not for the reason that that's the way to beat the Chiefs, but more from a variety point of view.
Yeah.
I heard something interesting this year I never thought I'd hear, that it was during a Buccaneers game. Troy Aikman was commentating, and he said that Tom Brady has had to learn to read the defense completely differently this year than ever before. And this is the GOAT.
Because he's got a running game.
No. The way Aikman explained it was that at New England, their progressions for passing was you take the short option first. If it's not there, you look for the intermediate pass. If it's not there, then you look for the deep pass.
Yep.
Now that's a bit contradictory to what I'd always sort of thought was the standard way, and I've learned this only from commentators watching the games and former quarterbacks, where you typically look for the deep pass first. If it's not there, progress back to the middle of the field. If that's not there, take your check down.
Because when I'm thinking back, Brady with the Patriots over those little slant passes, weren't they? Those short passes side to side.
Particularly with running backs who had good hands.
Yeah.
And maybe
get the ball, get rid of it in record time. Yeah.
And that was the key to their success, maybe, for all their Super Bowl wins and Brady's success. But Bruce Arians likes to throw the ball deep.
And Brady's done a bit of that this year, more than I've seen him do with the Patriots.
In the last few years, easily, and he's still got the arm strength.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of mustard on there. Brady's, obviously, he's not like Russell Wilson where he's young enough to get in the backfield and start to sidestep 7 players and break tackles. But he's still got plenty of mustard on those throws. They're going like lasers.
And I think the key is if he can get some of those deep passes early, it might get the safeties of Kansas City deeper.
Then the run game comes into play.
And they then push the linebackers back. The running game opens. If the running game opens, we've got play action.
Yeah.
Then you hook around. You give your receivers more time to get down the field. There's your long bombs again. So it's sort of that variation. And I think if it can keep the Chiefs' defense on their heels, then the Buccaneers have certainly got a big chance to win.
And both quarterbacks got ice in their veins. I mean, I know Brady's a lot more experienced, but Mahomes doesn't strike me as anyone. He's confident. These guys, they are up for this one. I don't think you're going to get a team get the yips and not perform. I think both teams will come ready to go.
Oh, I agree.
May the best team win.
Well coached, they're going to be ready.
So the MVP of the league, it hasn't been announced yet, has it?
No, that's usually the night before.
The night before, yeah. So there's talk it's going to be either Mahomes or Rodgers. Who would you give it to? Who's had the better year?
Look, I know all the talk is Rodgers. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Mahomes. But the male is usually pretty good when they're sort of projecting who's.
There's not many surprises, is there? Yeah, okay. Is, in your mind, Mahomes the best player in the league?
At the moment, just for his unpredictability and his consistency. Someone like Lamar Jackson has the unpredictability once he starts running. Passing can be a little bit inconsistent, but Mahomes has got the full package. Some of the throws that he can do are just out of this world.
Yeah, and he's good for a comeback. They've had some double-digit deficits. He's got a bit of a ticker in that fourth quarter.
No panic. And what just surprises me too is that even when he's scrambling around a bit, we don't know what he's going to do, but his teammates just seem to keep getting in the right positions for things to happen. So,
I think if he plays to his potential, Kansas are going to go a long way to win because I feel like there's a lot of points in Kansas with Mahomes. So,
look, I still think there's a risk they don't have their 2 preferred starting tackles. And the Buccaneers are going to bring a pretty ferocious pass rush, which got to Rodgers twice this year. So it wasn't a fluke once. They did it twice against someone who's good with moving around outside the pocket. But I think the plays will be set up for Mahomes. And against the blitz, his record is very good.
He's very good. He wants it.
They're straight.
Bring the blitz. The more of you coming at me, the less of you are up there.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't mind getting hit. I mean, he's prepared to wear a hit or two for the greater good. So yeah, he's a hell of a player.
Just don't call him Pat, or his mum gets on Twitter and starts
making
complaints to the commentators. His name's Patrick.
As if you needed another reason to not be on Twitter. I just found it. Okay, who's going to win and why? Give me a score. Give me a winner. Give me a score.
I've been pretty confident on the Chiefs for the last 2 weeks, and I think about 34-24.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be as close late in the game as a lot of people are predicting, and I think there's just going to be a couple of those big plays that Tampa just may not be able to shut down.
Yeah,
they've had a good run. I rewatched the game against the Saints this week, and when they turned the ball over, they had phenomenal field position. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be turning the ball over that often, so
you wouldn't think so.
Starts to just lower the ledger a little bit in that regard.
My heart says Tampa. I'd love to see it. The two teams played earlier this year at Tampa, and Kansas won by a field goal. I'll say that'd be about the same. I think officially I'll say Kansas to win by 3. Let's say 21-18. But my heart is, and I'm all go the Buccaneers. Let's do it.
Oh look, for Bruce Arians, I'd love to see him be the head coach for a Super Bowl win. And he's got the swag for it.
He's a abrasive character too, isn't he? Like he's if the media ask him a question he doesn't like, he'll go for him.
But his players just love him.
They do
play for him, and Brady's just been reinvigorated. And they said too that in the recent call that Arians is letting Brady coach, which was not a case that he was allowed to do at New England.
Yeah,
and that's fascinating that he hadn't been utilised in that aspect, and now it's like, take over.
New team, no preseason, no contact, no trial games. Brady's achievement, a lot of people said Brady is a system quarterback. That's true. The system is Tom Brady. That's the system. He brings a system with him. The coach has their view. They meld together. It's worked out. Bill Belichick watching at home with a cold one. Enough said. The dynasty's over. You don't trade the GOAT. Just before we get off the NFL as well, just on that NFL note, a lot of experts are saying this is going to be the most tumultuous off-season for quarterbacks in a long time. There's talk that more than half of the teams next year will have a new quarterback, that's a lot. When you consider that you're normally trying to franchise one and stick with one. The Rams have started the carousel by trading Goff to Detroit in exchange for Matthew Stafford. I think both teams are pretty happy with this. The Rams are happy because they feel like Stafford's that extra little thing they need to become a legit contender. Whereas Detroit get a quarterback that was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick in the next couple of drafts. So that's interesting. Now the thing is, the Rams, I don't know, I could talk about the Rams all day because that's my team, but I'm just using them as an example. They have done it for a few seasons now. They are trading first and second round picks for players. So McVay, who is regarded as a bit of a genius or potentially a little bit of a risk taker, it looks to me like he's decided that established players are worth a couple of maybes. Is this a good idea? Because by the time this plays out, they won't have had a first round pick in like 9 seasons.
Look, I can understand the reason for wanting to go for those established players. They did it with the cornerback Jalen Ramsey that they got from Jacksonville during the year. I do think there's another consideration in play as well, is that the Rams offloaded Todd Gurley, their running back, after signing a big contract, so they had a bit of dead money in the cap there.
Yep.
They're taking a massive hit with dead money from Goff, something like $22 million.
Well, on that, just sorry to interrupt you, but McVay has been given full support by the organisation. He can't say he hasn't. He wanted Goff, they gave him Goff. He wanted Gurley, he got Gurley. When Donald wanted more money, they gave Donald the money. And now he's traded Gurley and Goff, and now he says he wants this guy. So eventually, at some point, let's just say this doesn't work out, he's the next one to be questioned, isn't it?
Without a doubt.
It's got to eventually go to the coach. If they're like, well, we've given you all this stuff you need and you haven't done it. I really feel like McVeigh's career really rests on this decision, Matthew Stafford, next year.
I'd give it 2 years, but time's running out. I just think with them trading off their first round picks, that when you sign a first round pick, it comes with money. Like you've got to put up a lot of money for that. And I don't know that they may have a lot in the kitty for first round draft picks unless you're established and they're trading you in. So I think there's just a part in, they're happy to actually give up some of those first round picks because it's like, well, we don't really have the money to sign first round picks. We'll go after the proven talent.
If it works, it might change the convention of rebuilding from a draft first round picks and rebuilding that way. Maybe just trading them for players that are 3, 4, 5 seasons in. It might work out to be a genius move. Or it might be the death of him. I'm looking forward to that. But
the other thing I'm looking forward to with Goff going to Detroit is Detroit are hiring a lot of former players on their coaching staff. So it's sort of going a little bit against convention.
Is that a good thing though?
We'll find out. It hasn't really been done before. It may work, it may not.
Former players and coaching, you look at Australian sport, that's not always the way.
Yeah. Certainly trying something different and we'll see. Proof of the pudding,
So we've got the whole off season to worry about that, but it's very interesting. What quarterbacks teams will have next year? Deshaun Watson obviously going into the market's the big one that everyone's fawning over, but it's going to be a lot of trading going on
and just money. Like Carson Wentz is talking about wanting out of Philadelphia. He will come with like a $40 million cap hit. So there's a lot of money. That's
$60 million player that they wouldn't even put on the bench by the end. So, yeah. Anyway, okay. So we'll move on from the NFL, just quickly talk about cricket for a minute. Big Bash, semi-final last night, or qualifying final, eliminator, whatever you want to call it. Scorchers and the Heat. Scorchers just too good. Batted first, just lit it up. Cameron Bancroft, 58 off 42. Man of the match, Liam Livingston, 77 off 39, just smashed us. Mitchell Marsh, 49 not out. Didn't get his 50. Sorry, Mitch. But only one for in the end, 1 for 189, and that was only off 18 overs. The Duckworth-Lewis came in. Now they got 181, 189 I should say. The Duckworth-Lewis said, we got to get 200. A few head scratches. I like it though. Duckworth-Lewis obviously more complicated than the finals, but the thinking is because they didn't know they had a reduced amount of overs, they would have gone harder. If they had have only known, they would have had 18 overs with 9 wickets. Is this making any sense?
I understand it. I think they're just overcomplicating it. I mean, once it got down to 18 overs, because the other thing was that the Heat had one of their power surge overs taken off them, yet Perth got 2.
Okay.
So they not only had to get it more of a score, but they also lost an over by actually being able to bring the field in. So I think we were outclassed from about the second over that we bowled.
Yeah, and when we came in, we had to get 200 off 18 overs. I mean, and we fought hard, and at the end of the day, he weren't good enough. Bottom line, and the first and second teams are in the final. That'll be tomorrow with the Sydney Sixers and the Scorchers. Now, with this final setup, which we've talked about a bit, Sydney won that first game a week ago. I've had a week off. A week's only, it's only 1 week, but Perth have played a couple of games in that time. Do you see any advantage or disadvantage there?
If it was possibly any other team than the Strikers, maybe yes. But they are just very good and have been over a number of years. They won the final last year. I don't think it'll bother them that they've had that core group. Then they suddenly had Abbott and Enrique's come back into the team, and they've all played well. So I don't think they'll be. I think they'll be happy for the break.
And it's also a home game for them. They get to play at the SCG, which they haven't played at because of COVID and the test and everything. So they're finally going to play a home game, and it's the final, which is echoing the Superbowl a little bit. Got a home team, first one of the season. So there you go.
Can I just take you on a bit of a tangent? I'd heard recently that Channel 7 didn't really do a lot for the Big Bash in terms of talking it up. In fact, they were sort of talking it down. They tried to offload it to Channel 10.
Well, they've been having a good whinge about it when the one dayers were on Foxtel or KO and they didn't get them. They had a big sook. They seem to be falling out of love with cricket, don't they? Channel 7,
Which is sort of strange. And Cricket Australia have come out and said, look, we're not going to change the format, like it's going to stay like that for a while.
Okay.
So, I don't know about you, but I find by after Christmas, New Year, the interest just starts to wane a little bit in that regard. So I've sort of got a bit of an idea for a marketing strategy for the Big Bash.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Now look,
hang on, viewers, this is going to be good.
It's a long season. I don't think we're going to get a lot of the international players for the full length of the season because of other scheduling clashes.
Right.
But if it was maybe a bit more of a focus, if we can get these players out, more for the entertainment value than just purely helping to win the title, that could be, to sort of get that interest up and maintain it. Now, I don't know about England's availability at that time of year, and I think the Ashes are on next year, so it could be a bit of a clash, but how good would it be to get the England captain involved in the Big Bash and really market it? And the idea, quite simply, would be root night every night that he's playing, because, that's going to get the viewers turned on, wouldn't you say, Trev?
I think you're rooted, and I don't know, maybe you've been drinking again, I don't know what's going on.
But
it is too long. I think that's, you're trying to have hype, and then you're trying to tell people to be hyped for, or is it 2 months or whatever. And we've had people who've watched the show, school holidays seems to be about right. If you shortened it as well, you'd have less chance of players having to leave mid-year, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
As for Root, he normally gets 50 and gets out. He is having a good run at the moment, but yeah. Well, there was that graphic when someone was, he was doing well and it had the bowling, it had down the bottom, too short to root. Which, there you go. Yeah, you like that one?
That was a good one.
A good one. Also, just quickly, the Test match Australia-South Africa, they looks like it's been totally postponed. Australia got really strong health advice. Don't go to South Africa. There's that certain strain over there. The bubble that was on offer was apparently insufficient. South Africa are feeling quite aggrieved. They feel like they've bent over backwards for Australia, and Australia are just saying no. Probably maybe a little bit to that. Then Australia made the offer, well, why don't we play it in Western Australia? And South Africa was a hard no. A bit of animosity between the cricket boards. They want us to go over there. There's a fair bit of money probably involved. Australia aren't going to go. I think that series is done.
Do you think they've left the call too late? Was it pretty clear 4 or 6 weeks ago that they probably... the fact they even went to the extent of naming 2 separate teams to make it look like we're in this, and then... Because I've spoken to a few South Africans in the last sort of few weeks.
Apparently it's really ramped up.
And they're like, I wouldn't go.
Yeah. I think that I'm no expert, but I've heard that the situation in South Africa in the last month is just getting right out of hand. So I don't know. It is only a game of cricket. You can't ask the players to go and risk getting COVID. It's unfortunate because it would have been good, but I think probably the right call there. Fair enough that South Africa don't want to play here. I understand that, but yeah.
Just think for the Sheffield Shield, it'll be a cracking end of the season with all the
That's a good point. That's a good point. You might have the full complement. Yeah.
And if you think of the Australian bowling attack, they're all New South Wales. They get a full test attack coming back into the Sheffield Shield team.
They are, and then what does that say? Because the bowlers haven't been that good. So, quickly, Australian Open starts on Monday. Djokovic looks really good. He's in the Novaks, headlines, but on the court looks solid as a rock. Looks like he could win. You watched any of the tennis? Seen anything?
Not a lot, but I'd just be hopeful in the men's if Millman can get a decent run by having a pretty good preparation leading in without having to be in isolation or lockdown.
Same as Barty.
I'd hope that if the Aussies can go deep into the tournament, maybe quarters at least quarters, maybe semis would be fantastic.
Millman is a good Brizzy boy. Has had courts, the ones at Carina there, the Millman courts. We played there when we were kids, grew up there. Just a good, solid player. Doesn't have the brattish family that seems to be what tennis players need. So I wish him all the best. He obviously beat Federer in the US Open there last year. Was that last year? Year before.
A big tournament towards the end of last year as well.
A solid player. So it'd be good. Kyrgios has thrown his lollies overnight. I'm not even going to go there. Let's not even do that. So, Australian Open starts Monday. We've had the COVID scare with the hotel lockdown worker. At this stage, touch wood, no community transmission. So let's hope it all just goes through. Because Victorians, they've toughed it out, and they could certainly use a little bit of luck, and let's just hope it works.
And certainly the fact that the French Open and US Open both went ahead in pretty trying areas and managed to sort of get it. There's no reason we can't get the tournament through in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've got my fingers crossed. Now, quickly, we're just going to talk a little bit of NRL/AFL. I'm not too big on chatting about pre-season stuff. I'm more of someone who talk to me week one and round one, I'm ready to go. But I just have to say, with the NRL, Cameron Smith, the most influential player in the league, one of the greatest players to ever play, no one seems to know if he's playing this year. And the first game is in about 6 weeks. I'm convinced that the media don't know because they're getting very upset. He's saying nothing. By him saying nothing, everyone is getting really mad. But having said that, there's players who need to know if he's playing. The Storm need to know to replace him. The Titans are keeping a little bit of money aside in case he wants to go there. You got players like Harry Grant and Brandon Smith, hookers who play in Melbourne, who go, well, should I go to another club? So he either doesn't know, Cameron Smith himself does not know, or he knows and he's not telling anyone. Either one of those scenarios seems unbelievable to me. What's going on?
He's bought a house on the Gold Coast. I'd heard he had been getting his kids into Gold Coast schools late last year.
I heard that too.
I would think that Melbourne know, but they're just under no obligation to have to tell anybody. But
they don't know because if they know, why haven't they told the players what's going on and why?
Well, how do we know they haven't? They might just be keeping mum on it just to let him make the call himself.
But why? What's taking so long? They've been in pre-season training now for 2 months. What's taking so long?
Traditionally, Cameron Smith in the last few years hasn't started pre-season training early. He usually comes back quite late and actually doesn't need a long preparation to get up. Maybe he is still thinking about it just to see whether he's wanted to get through Christmas, New Year to sort of see how he feels. But he's probably one of the few players that could get away with such a long, dragged out process.
Yeah.
But
look, Cameron Smith, I'm a fan, and he's earned the right. Like people were asking him after the grand final, immediately, what are you going to do? He said, I haven't decided. I think you're entitled to take some time. But somewhere in between the grand final and pre-season training, that's the time. I mean, you got to be if he leaves now, he's leaving Melbourne in the lurch. He left Queensland in the lurch. He's got a bit of history there. Like, you know what I mean? I'm turning on this one. He needs to make an announcement today. You know what I mean?
I still think Melbourne know he's not coming back, and it might just be whether he's up for starting at a new club from scratch or what. But I'd be pretty confident Melbourne know he's not coming back. I don't think they would want their preparation sort of thrown out. Maybe they do, but I think
it makes no sense to me to keep. This isn't going to affect the strategy of other teams. This isn't going to. There's no advantage to holding on to this information, is there?
I don't know, but I just think they would leave it up to him to make the call rather than have to announce it for him.
Yeah, but it's February. The next game, the first round one is in the 13th of March. It's I don't understand it anyway. We'll see. I mean, see what happens by this time next week if he's made up his mind. I mean, the longer he says nothing, he's probably playing, but who knows. Just quickly before we leave, mate, the Premier League's all over the place. Man United, huge stumble in the league. Lost to Sheffield United, arguably the worst team in Premier League history. A draw to Arsenal and then beat Southampton 9-0. Now, Southampton had some red cards, but 9-0, that's unbelievable. Liverpool beat Tottenham, then lose to Brighton. Now, Liverpool plays Man City on this weekend coming, and I feel like that's Liverpool's title hopes right there. A draw, okay, maybe, but a loss to Man City, with Man City just going so hard, so well, I feel like if Liverpool are going to retain their title, a win is required. What do you reckon? You watch much EPL or followed it?
Not that much in recent times, but I think City would be really looking to be bouncing back this year. The resources that they put in wouldn't want to be sitting back and not getting silverware to show for it. So
they're winning well each week. They're playing very well at the moment. Looked like the best team in the league.
They were sitting back like maybe 6 or so a few weeks ago, but they had 3 games in hand and just went win, and suddenly jumped to the top. So.
Yeah, I mean, as a United fan, I'd love to see Liverpool beat them because someone just has to break this run and then bring them back to the pack a little bit. But yeah, they're in form, that's for sure. All right, mate. Well, that's pretty much all we got time for. Episode 5 in the books. Looking forward to the bowl.
Yeah.
To say to the viewers, next Tuesday we're going to do another episode with the Super Bowl recap and talk about the game and stuff like that. So, that's all for this week. Thanks for coming on.
All right.
And see you all next week.